one of the most popular questions I get from founders that are starting out is, oh, how am I going to find a franchisee? Who's going to buy a franchise from me? Where do I find them? So where did you get your first half dozen franchisees?
Most of them were from the Vegas, actually all of them were from the Vegas market. So customers or friends of customers or, yeah, mainly customers and friends of customers. Pretty much all of that was the initial. We didn't really do much advertising, partly because, ads, and every franchise broker I talked to was like, you got to blast, franchise opportunities all over the place, make sure you put it on your cups and put it on your containers and put it on your bags. And I was like, oh gosh, maybe I'm not set up for this business because I just can't like, wear the hat that says franchise available. So, we did it basically more organically, and still to this day it's kind of like that too. I do need to really start looking at it a little bit differently, and now that we're in the DFW market, brand a little bit better as far as marketing to franchisees, but that's where we found them.
Well, and congratulations. Now you've broken out of Nevada now, right? Into Texas and Frisco, Texas. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, let's get back to Vegas for a second here. You got all these awards. Tell us what Rachel's Kitchen offers. Like, what are some of the most popular menu items, and why did they give you all these awards?
I think they like us.
What do they like? Tell us what some of the awards are, and what are some of the most popular menu items?
So we're fast casual. We call ourselves fresh casual because everything's, made fresh in house and made to order. So the awards, like there's different categories for Best of Las Vegas, and they do change their categories every
Hmm.
year. They've got ones that are always kind of there, but we've won things from best juices, best smoothies, best salads, best power lunch, best Henderson location or restaurant, best downtown Las Vegas restaurant, best catering. So we're really known for like our salads and our sandwiches and our juices and our smoothies, but we do have pasta on our menu that people absolutely love when they realize, that that's on the menu as well. We offer great catering, not like a catering that, you do at your home, but just like kind of a drop off catering
Hmm.
for business lunches and events and, baby showers and whatnot. And we're pretty, our brand is pretty well known in Vegas. So we're consistent. That's the one thing that we try to push for is that all the
Aha.
locations is consistent. And, we take care of our guests as best as we can. We value them. We understand that, there's a lot of competition, like you said, in Las Vegas, and we really try to value our guests as much as possible and, give back to the community as much as possible. I'm very uh, much a advocate for that. We give to fundraisers all the time, to charities, anything that really 99% of the things that are presented to us, we give something, whether it's a gift card or, a tray or whatever, as long as it's something that's legitimate. Because I just believe in doing that, and I think people see that. And when the locals think Rachel's Kitchen, I think most of them understand that and remember that.
That's sweet. One of the challenges I think about in franchising, specifically in the food services, is that consistency is much harder to achieve, or I should say, it's more easily exposed when you don't have that consistency from one franchise
Mhm.
to another versus other sectors. Nobody's going to really notice in home services because you're probably only going to go to use one home services company, for example,
Yeah.
one's in your area. But whereas you've got, a half dozen locations throughout Vegas, have you figured out how to ensure consistency from one location to the other?
It's tough. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a walk in the park because it's not, and we're constantly, striving for that. But we, our specs are very particular,
Hmm.
so that's one way that we can ensure that everybody's buying the same product. We work with the same vendors across the brand and same specs. And if something is subbed, it's always approved by the corporate office before it goes out, so people aren't making their own decisions. So today this, cheese is out, so we're going to swap it for this cheese. It's all done by us. And we've got, second sub, third sub. And generally what happens if it's out for one location, it's out for all the locations. So we do that. We have our recipes, kind of down to amount of salt and pepper that goes into them. We have little videos for all of our recipes. We've got quizzes, we've got, tests, we've got you name it, we have it, and we've redone them, every time we'll see something. I mean, fortunately not, recently, but in the beginning, the first few years, we're like, oh, well, we're looking at it like this. And then we go into a location and somebody's understood this differently. And we're thinking, how could you possibly understand what, ABC says, but they
Right.
did.
Sure.
So let's revise it and let's change it. So that's really been a huge part of what I do with my corporate team, is just to make sure that we've got consistency across the brand.
Yeah, well, opening a new business is overwhelming for people. I would imagine many of your franchise owners, I know mine, were first-time business owners. So you're just hit with an
Mhm.
enormous amount of a learning curve, and
Yes.
it's very easy for somebody to skip over something, and or if they don't pick up on something, they improvise, right? They figure it out. They do they do
I think is right.
what they
Yeah.
think is right. That's it. Can you elaborate a little bit on the training and support that you guys offer?
Sure. So we have a full training. We do have our corporate office and our commissary out here in Vegas, but for the new location, like for the Frisco, I decided that it would be better to have my team go out there. Like our corporate documents say, they should come to Vegas and get trained. I think it's like 5 days, on the job training type thing, and then 5 days of like classroom training. So, you know, they could come out here to Vegas for a couple of weeks, bring their management team and whatnot over here. But I decided, this is important for everybody. So we're just going to go out there with them and hold their
Hmm.
hand through the thing. So we were there, towards the end of construction. We were there when the first deliveries were coming in. We were basically opening the store for them, with them, and had a team that stayed there with them for several days after. And then everybody just kept going back and going back, and we're still going back, because it's still kind of soft open for us. But my philosophy is always like, I want you to be successful, because if you're successful, I'm successful. So we're really in this together. So let's all work together, and ultimately that's our goal. I know some franchisors are like, well, I told you to get 3 days of training, and you got 3 days of training and you didn't learn it. So now I'm going to hit you with a bill because I'm going to charge you X amount to, retrain your management team, or do this and that. That's not what I'm about,
Yeah.
so more the long-term relationship, and, how can we all be successful together, and how can we make this happen? So,
Of course, it's probably part of the draw why someone would want to be a franchise owner with you, because they're partnering up with you. You're small. It's still a very intimate environment, especially
mhm.
well, 6 out of the 7 franchise locations are in Nevada, so you feel like you're part of a family still.
Yep, exactly.
What about your franchise owner? So who are they? Like, who is your ideal franchise owner? What does that look like?
There's different ones, and they're all different. I've got the, husband and wife that work there with their families. I've got the semi-retired corporate restaurant owner who had, his life was corporate restaurants, and decided he wanted to go do his own, and does his own now kind of on a part-time basis, and has a team that runs his stores for him. I've got the hospitality type expert that was never in the actual food, but always knew the hospitality side and did a great job of building a team together for himself. So really they're different. I would say for future growth, my ideal is more of a multi-unit restaurant operator,
Okay.
because they have usually, they have the experience and they have a seasoned team, which makes it a lot easier, because I think a lot of the difficult part of the initial months of opening anything is really getting your team together.
Right.
So when you're learning and your team's learning and you're in a new environment, you've got so many different obstacles. So
Sure. That's one of the big challenges I found in franchising starting out myself, is that the people who were buying franchises from me in the beginning, it was a very much a mom and pop franchise owner. And then
mhm,
it was almost like as we grew, maybe you could say the business legitimized itself a little bit and got more sophisticated, but we did get a much more sophisticated franchise owner. Not
yes.
some, and I don't mean somebody who's just like, I'm investing in businesses and this is part of my multi-unit brand strategy, but it was folks that did have a really a vast array of not franchise, but just business experience in all different industry. But it almost like it helped legitimize our business by having people from all different walks of life. Not to mention, I think one of the greatest advantages of franchising, if I can self-franchising for a moment here, is that I could never have afforded these people to be employees, that I was gaining their experience and they were bringing something to the table. Like our team was so much stronger because of their knowledge, of their expertise in all different sectors of the business. And
Yeah.
I can kind of see how Rachel's Kitchen is going to evolve. Of course, you have this, if you're going to go multi-unit franchise, it's going to create a whole new set of expectations that you're going to have, because obviously the faster we grow, the faster we can, crash the car. But
Exactly.
but if you're finding this more sophisticated business investor who, if you have the guardrails in place, it can be a great strategy for you to go faster. And well, now we're in Texas, right? So that's huge. It's going to now open up doors for you much faster, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly, the strategy and sort of how it's been. And, it's been a very slow, steady kind of growth.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it's been, just because of my own personal life as well. I mean, my two kids are now older.
Debbie, I got a question for you. Does your son wonder when you're going to start a brand with his name?
He does. He's got a menu item. So his name's Ryan. He's got Ryan's Pesto Pasta, and it does fantastic. So that's great. And, it's always a joke, but the franchise company is named after him. So,
oh, that's
I'm
great.
like, okay, you don't have the fame out there, babe, but you actually really own this company. So that's weird.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.